Yeah, this is a shot in the arm for the Bulls, and obviously this has been an uphill battle. I think an oversold stock. I think if you look at subscriptions, billings growth, it really shows that I think they're hitting their next level of growth in this cloud environment. I think a lot of it's also going to be Slack driven in terms of the collaboration. I just think this is as oversold as I've seen Salesforce relative to the growth and margins in probably about 4 to 5 years.
You know, I look at things like, Salesforce's free cash flow yield that looks like up around 3% on a forward basis, obviously higher than it's been at times over the past couple of years. How does that, reflect upon the broader sort of software universe and what it's saying about either investors' appetite to pay up for these stocks and also, the fundamentals of business spending?
I think right now it's a quagmire for investors in tech because some of the free cash flow stories that they're able to sort of navigate better than others, Microsoft and Apple and some others. But if you look in software, when you look at Salesforce here, the free cash flow, I think, is just massively attractive. And I think the Slack deal alone is probably $50 to $60 overhang on the stock, which is our opinion. We're going to look out in the next 6 to 9 months. I think this is one massive opportunity to own it, and they're showing fundamentals back up the story.
What is holding back the stock, Dan? Because if their expectation here for the first quarter 2023 revenue guidance is 24% growth, so they're continuing to post the double-digit growth, beat and raise. So what is the overhang here? Is it still the digestion of some of these big deals?
I think the Slack deal has been a clear overhang. That's something investors didn't want them to see, especially buying at the top. And then I think there's worries about Microsoft, competitively speaking, in terms of defending their turf. Can they accelerate growth? And what happens to the margin story? Because that's ultimately the fear. They continue to spend money, and ultimately that margin story doesn't really morph as we go in 2023, 2024. But Benioff's had the golden touch. And this is one, anytime you bet against him and Salesforce, it's been the wrong move. And that's why I think, given the valuation here, risk reward, I view as an eye popper.
Just want to get at that idea that Slack in itself and the fact that the company paid up for it is, responsible for, 50%, a 20% overhang on the stock, right? 56. They only paid $28 billion for Slack. You're saying the market's penalizing twice the value paid for Slack in Salesforce's valuation?
Oh, I view it as one of the more anomalous overhangs relative to what they've paid. And that's a lot of investors. It's one they've sort of put this to the side because of the Slack deal. Right now, even if you discount it, assume that's a zero, this is a name that you buy in potential table pounder given the free cash flow story. And I think it's one, some will argue it tainted the pure cloud. Some will also argue that as you go into the next year or two, a lot more competition, especially when you look at some of the next-gen plays going after Salesforce. But if you look from an install base perspective, a free cash flow evaluation, you look at some of these numbers, you feel much better today owning Salesforce than you did 24 hours ago. I think a lot better than feared. But many yelling fire in a crowded theater on this name.
But you also have the macro concerns, Dan, and this idea of higher interest rates from the Fed and the whole revaluation of the entire tech sector, software names in particular. So do you rethink what a fair value for Salesforce should be? And where should that be relative to some of its peers?
Yeah, and I think we've already seen a lot of that come down 30, 40% across software. Some of the high multiple names down 50 or 60. If I look at multiples based on growth, we're almost sort of toward trough over the last 10 years when you factor in growth. I view software as a pocket of strength, cybersecurity as well. It's obviously a white knuckle environment. We want to be owning names like Salesforce, Microsoft, cybersecurity names like Palo Alto, even Checkpoint on the free cash flow, as well as Fortinet. I think that's how you navigate this market. A lot of oversold, disconnected names, Salesforce being one of them.